tonight. Today I'm joined by Garry ahead of his welterweight title fight at Cage Warriors 125. How's it going, Ian?
How are you? How's things?
It's great. It's great. How's it going for you?
Good. No complaints. Life's good. A week away, just over a week away from getting that belt. So as good as one can be.
Yeah, as you said, I think it's like 9 days now until you step in there for the Cage Warriors title. At this stage of camp, what's going on? Is it all tapering down now? What's happening?
Yeah, it's tapering down. Just kind of basically now it's just getting to the fight, watching the weight, keeping an eye on the weight, and then just getting there. Because once you're there, that's when the fun starts to happen. That's when the energy picks up from being around the hotel and being around all the other fighters, and it's good fun. But I'm looking forward to it. I always look forward to it. I shine from those bright lights and getting into that stage, into that cage. It's a brilliant feeling.
And just talking about camp, how's it been this one? I know we've got all the impacts of COVID and things like that. How's it been down there in Ireland? You with Team KF, isn't it? How's it been there?
Everything's been great, yeah. Everyone's been training. We've been very lucky, very fortunate that like with COVID, the fact that we can all keep training in our little pods has been brilliant. So I've been kept since last year once I fought in September 25th. We've been flat out basically since. We've just been non-stop and everything's been great, no complaints.
And just specifically on sparring training partners, who have you been working with this camp?
So I've got so it's been mostly the same training partners. So Chris Fields, Tom King, there's a rake of boys in the gym. To name all of them, you'd be just going into detail, but like kind of mainly the main three lads have been Omran Shaban, Adam Shelley, Leon Hill, and then there's this 18-year-old killer called Roman, right? I'm not, just trust me now, that kid's going to be special in a few years, but he's brilliant. But there's a lot of lads I'm training with, but it's more just right now, it's more just about just getting to the fight. All the hard work has been done. We put in some insane work, and we're all very happy and very pleased, and we're ready to win there and win this world title.
Yeah, and just before we get into that next fight, I want to focus on your last fight just for a second. Rostem Akman, very impressive win, and that's the reason I bring it up. He's a UFC vet. He's been in there with tough guys, and you go out there and finish him. So was that the plan? And if so, how happy was you that it actually came off?
Yeah, so I literally watched. So I don't like to watch fights in a sense of I just be like, oh, he's shit. I know it's crazy, right? I'll watch fight and be like, oh, I don't, because I'll see something. But what I do, when I do watch it, I'll watch for the shots that I can catch him with, or where I can stop the takedown, where I can see if there's a little tell on where he's going to go for a takedown or stuff, little things like that. I'm not paying attention to the fight, what's happening. It's more just what shots. I noticed every time he switched to southpaw, he dropped his left hand down. So I said it to my coaches, right hand, right high kick, right hand, right high kick. That's the shot that's going to land. So for me, it was so satisfying having seen it, worked on it in the gym for ages, and then went in there and just implemented it and caught it. And it was absolutely beautiful. But yeah, it was very, very satisfying. It was a very satisfying feeling to go out there and get that job done.
Yeah, it was a sweet go, and it's even sweeter, as you say, because since you actually called your shot and pulled it off. So just moving on to the next one. Now that fight sets you up for a huge fight with Jack Grant in 9 days, as we said earlier. So what's the overall feeling right now? It seems like excitement, but do you have any nerves, anxiety, anything like that heading into the biggest fight ever?
No, it's cool, calm, collected as I always am. It's the exact same. The reason I'm so calm and composed in the cage is because that's the way I am. I'm never worried. I'm never anxious. I'm never stressed. It's another day. Do you know what I mean? I chose to do fighting. I chose to want to do this sport. So when I'm walking in that cage, I go in there and have fun, and it's the exact same day today for me. It's fun. I get to enjoy myself, have a good time, and that's the attitude that I carry into the cage with me, because that is my life.
Yeah, and it's coming across in terms of the build-up to this fight. Even I was checking out your Instagram. Seems like you've been sending a few cheeky texts to Jack Grant in the middle of the night. Is that common for yourself, or is that just a one-off? You know, just a little wind-up.
That was just a bit. That was a wind-up. That was a bit of fun. I really like Jack. I think Jack's a lovely person. He's a lovely man, and like I have a lot of time for him. Like I genuinely do. I've sat down at shows with him for ages, chat to him. Like we were chatting at the last one. I knew he was a potential opponent going in, like when we were at the last hotel, and it doesn't bother me. It's no issue. It's no stress. Like, we know the plan. Like, we know the job. He's a fighter. I'm a fighter. Sometimes friends cross paths, and that's it. But like, it's not going to stop me from wanting to have to go in there and do my job, and it's not going to stop him. So we'll get into the cage, and afterwards we'll share a beer, or well, he can share a beer. I won't be drinking. I don't drink anymore, but we'll share a slice of pizza. I'll buy him a beer. He'll need one.
So yeah, brilliant stuff. And just moving on to Jack specifically, he's got a ton of experience. You're still a new guy in the game, relatively. Besides that, what strengths does he bring to this fight? What have you got to look out for?
Well, like, Jack's very aggressive in the scramble. So if he does get me through rounds, I don't think he will, he'll look to jump on scrambles, and he's very good at it. He's very good at jumping on submission within the scramble, and he's had a lot of success with it his entire career. But I'm not worried about anything Jack's going to bring. His experience, like, that's the biggest advantage for him, in the sense of he's been in a lot of positions. But when have you seen me in a fight where I've been in a bad position? I don't get in them because I'm better than everyone. And in this fight, it's going to be the exact same. Yes, he might have all the experience, but when we stand in that cage, I'm going to be the one that's looking like the veteran in that cage, not him. Doesn't matter about records. It's about the person, the way you carry yourself. He'll be in that cage trying to amp himself up, and I'll be standing there with a smile on my face, ready to go. It's just the way it is. So, yes, Jack's very experienced. He's a great grappler, and he's a great athlete. Do you know what I mean? But I'm just better. That's it.
Yeah, and I'm just moving on to Jack. We've talked about his good points there, his experience being one of them. What have you pinpointed in camp? Have you picked your shot in this camp? Have you watched much tape? What flaws are you seeing in him?
So he's got a couple of things that I've noticed, a couple of things that I'm going to absolutely take advantage of. But he is very, very solid. Like, he's obviously, look, his main advantage for him going into the fight, like if I was his coaches, would be to take me down and try and beat me on the ground, because that's where Jack has consistently had the most success. But like, when you look at it, like, just in general, Jack was able to make 155. I'd have to chop off a limb to make 155. I can't physically make it. I'm a naturally bigger man. So I think people will see that when we get into the cage. Yes, Jack is going to look good. He's always going to look good. He's got that muscle definition where he's ripped out of his mind. I don't care about how much muscle you have. Let's see how that muscle lasts when you're getting jabbed in the mouth and your arms are begging for oxygen and you can't lift them above your head. Do you know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. But like, I think for me, it's just going to be go in there and just take my time, and eventually the finish is going to come. Like every other fight, don't rush it. Just take my time. And yeah, I think the fact that I'm a naturally bigger man will win me the fight, and he'll feel that.
And what you've just said there just kind of takes me into my next question. What is your route to victory in this fight? I'm sure you've envisaged how it goes. I'm sure you're dreaming about it. How do you see yourself getting your hand raised?
Stoppage. I'm still flirting with how I'm kind of having. See, I can see Jack coming in for a takedown, me defending it, but then me wanting to get my little ego up there, jumping on the sub. There's loads of things I want Jack to try grappling, because I have no issue getting into a grappling exchange with Jack Grant, because I want to prove I'm a better grappler than people talk about. Oh, Jack's an amazing grappler. He is. Don't get me wrong, he is. But I'm better. And this is where it's like, right, let's see how much better you are. I mean, let's test it. But I have a couple of ideas in my head on how the fight's going to finish, but I do see it as a stoppage, and I don't see it being later than the third round. I think he'd be lucky if he makes it to the third. But we'll see. Do you know what I mean? If it's 15, if it's 15 minutes, if it's 25 minutes, I don't care. All I have to do is get my hand raised, and I'm going to be a world champion. And that's my only worry. Only worry is to win that fight. It's the only thing I'm focused on. Always.
And how do you feel about the 25 minutes? Obviously, I think that's new to yourself. How do you feel about potentially fighting for 25 minutes?
Dude, I am a cardio machine. I fucking love pushing my body. So for me to have an extra 2 rounds, firstly, I've been to the third round once in my professional career, and that was because I broke my hand in the first round, and I had to play it smart, right? So if I didn't break my hand, I probably would have finished that fight, because it's been consistent. Do you know what I mean? I finished all my fights. That's the way I am. I put a pace on people. I get inside people's head. I make them feel uncomfortable, and they quit. It's going to be the same thing here. So for me to have an extra 10 minutes to make someone break, which I've never really needed, it's just going to be amazing for me. I'm going to have the exact same pace, the exact same outlook on the rounds. I'm just going to do exactly what I want to do, but just break them. So if it does go to the 4th and 5th round, then great. You're going to see the exact same me and Garry have seen in my previous 6 fights. I'm just going to do exactly what I've done.
And provided everything goes well this fight, hopefully it does for yourself. What's next? I'm sure you've thought about it, but you don't want to look past Jack. But have you thought about what might be next for you?
Well, look, I want to win the belt first, as you said, like, and if you alluded to, like, the belt is the main concern right now. I already feel like that belt is mine because I felt like the whole tournament was made to slow me down. But for me, it's obvious. Like, I've said it from day one. Like, I want to win the Cage Warriors belt and I want to sign for the UFC. As long as the UFC are the main platform for MMA, where all the best fighters in the world are, that's where I'm going to want to be, and that's where I'm going to want to win the belt there. So I want to be the best fighter. I want to be one of the greatest to ever do this, and I'm only going to get to that level in the UFC. So win this belt and then see what happens next. But yeah, as we said, it's always going to be the UFC.
And in terms of your team and the people around you, are they happy for you to push you at that pace? Because obviously it would be 6-0 if you win this fight, yeah, and it's still relatively new. So is everyone around you wanting to push it that quickly?
Well, like, it's pretty obvious. Like, when you look at the progression and the trajectory I've been on, it's because of the hard work. It's because I'm pushing myself, and I've got a team behind me that are pushing me, and people surrounding me that are pushing me, that know how much I want this, that are here to help me get to my dreams. You know what I mean? Like, this is a dream for me, fighting for this. Like, I've said this, I want to win this belt before I go off to the UFC. That is what I want to do. That is, like, it is inevitable that I'm going to do what I want to do, because I work as hard as I do to get to where I want to be. So to have the people I have around me and to have them push me and kind of like that fire underneath my ass, like, no one blows smoke up my ass. Like, if anyone does, it's me. You know what I mean? I blow smoke up my own ass. I talk about how I'm the shit, but everyone around me kind of keeps me grounded, pushes me. But it's amazing, and everyone knows the potential I have. Everyone sees the hard work, and right now I feel I'd be 80% of the welterweights in the UFC. So, I mean, you've seen it with Rustin. Rustin went 2 rounds with 2 elite level lads in the UFC, 2 full 15-minute rounds. I went down there and knocked them out in 8. So I've clearly shown I'm good enough to be at that level. And that's exactly what I'm going to keep doing. I'm going to keep proving that I was right all along. And I want, in a couple of years, for when I'm in the UFC and I'm fighting for a world title, or maybe I'm the UFC champion, I want people to sit there and go, he was right. That kid was right. He said it. And that's the feeling I want people to have.
And in terms of the UFC, I know some fighters I've spoke to in the past from Cage Warriors have had conversations with them before they actually make the move. Have you had any type of contact with them or of your team, or just a hint to say, if you win this one, that's where you're going?
There's been no hints or anything like that. I know they know who I am. I absolutely know that. But there's been no hints or anything. Again, look, the main thing is get this belt done, and that's most of the work done. I mean, to have a 7-0 Cage Warriors welterweight world champion, undefeated, a beautiful looking lad. You know what I mean? You're bringing him in to be the potential face of the organization and like the new age. Like, that's the direction we're going, mate.
Brilliant. And I've got this down, so I will ask you, even though you've pretty much just answered what your future holds. Is there any temptation to defend the belt, or maybe go after a second weight class? You said you couldn't make lightweight if your life depended on it. Could you go to middleweight and maybe challenge up there?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love, like, I've always said I'd like to be a 2-weight world champion, but of recent, like, it's kind of like I've seen Mason Jones go in and he was a 2-weight world champion and everyone bigged him up for being the next big thing. And then he goes into the UFC and loses. And like, I love Mason. I have nothing against Mason, but like, what's the point in being a 2-weight world champion and then going into the UFC and losing your first fight? And I know it's a tough fight against Mike Davis. Like, that was a great scrap. And it was a really, really good debut for Mason. But like, I don't see the benefit in needing needing to move up a weight class. I know Notorious Frederick and Matt Bonner are fighting for the middleweight belt at Cage Warriors, and I'm like, nothing really interests me about fighting either of those guys. Like, I think they're both good fighters. I think like I could easily win there and beat both of them, but I've no interest in stepping up to fight them. There's and then again in regards to defending the belt, who else is there? I know there's one really good fight on Cage Warriors, Justin Burlinson and David Bear. That's a great scrap. So potentially, if one of them goes in there and puts on a show, I might want to defend the belt. But I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot of aspects that you've got to look at after this fight. But the main thing for me is win that world title, and then we'll sit down, we'll relax, we'll take a deep breath, we'll enjoy the moment, we'll make some memories, and then we'll assess what's next.
Absolutely. And this is the question I like to ask, all the young up and comers such as yourself, when it's all said and done, you're done, you're retired. What do you want to be remembered for? What do you want to have achieved?
I want to be known as a guy that always showed up to perform, that always brought it, and that was just consistently solid, that literally just brought that performance, that brings that energy. But I want to be remembered as one of the greatest of all time. I want to be in that argument of, I've said this before, the GOAT conversation is a conversation because it's personal opinion. People like Anderson Silva's style more than they like John Jones. People like GSP's style more than they like Khabib's. I want to be in that conversation. That for me is being successful. Going into this, whatever avenue we go down. Obviously, for me, it's UFC. That's my tunnel vision because they're the best platform in the world. That's where all the top athletes are. I want to go in there, make statement after statement after statement, prove I'm one of the best on the planet, and have everyone say, he was the best. He brought the show every single time, and he was one of the greatest to ever do it. That, for me, would be success. Leaving a name and leaving a legacy.
It's a good goal to have. And thanks for your time today. Just before we go, we're doing some fighter predictions, and I just want to get your thoughts on a couple of fights that are coming up, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so, off you go. Work away.
First, we've got Dustin Poirier against Conor McGregor. So I just want to know who you've got and why.
Straight in, no kissing. I think Conor has to change up a lot from his recent fight. And I think he will. I think he'll make the adjustments, but it's like, it all depends. I think the fight depends on how well he adjusts to it. I think in the last fight, he had a lot of boxing style. He was very heavy on the lead leg. Dustin clearly took advantage of that with the calf kicks. I feel like Conor has to go back to that kind of fluid motion that he used to have when he was on the rise up. That elusiveness is why Conor was the best. He was able to get out the shots, and he has that one-touch knockout power that you can't ever bet against, because he hits one person, they're gone. I think it's going to be a great fight. I'll always root for Conor. I will always root for Conor. He's the reason I'm in this sport. You know what I mean? His rise is the reason I got so excited to do this. But I think Dustin Poirier is absolutely in the better position right now, and I think Conor has to do a lot to get that win back. So I don't know. I'm gonna go with Conor because he's a man to come in and change up the game. Do you know what I mean? He'll come in and he'll put that out and he'll be like, and what? Who's next? And it's the perfect story for him. So yeah, I'll go with Conor.
Yeah, you can never write him off. And just next one and last one, we've got Jake Paul against Tyrone Woodley. What do you make of that? And what do you make of the YouTube celebrities coming into the boxing?
Well, obviously I'm not a boxer, so it doesn't bother me. But like, there's a reason they're going into boxing and not MMA, right? Let's put it that way, because boxing's a lot easier to do than MMA. You only have to worry about one aspect of the game. I think they're doing brilliant things. I think the fact that they're coming in, like the entertainment side of it is brilliant. I'm not mad about the kind of the spectacle. Like I have no want or need to watch it, but I think it's brilliant for them. Like, fair play to them. Like, I'm not going to shit on their success. In regards to the fight, I think Jake Paul beats him. I think Tyrone Woodley is a quitter. And if Jake Paul can put it on him, It annoys me because he's going to be able to say he beat a world champion in MMA, but I do think he can absolutely beat Woodley. I think if Woodley only had success because everyone was worried about that wrestling that he had and that big overhand right. That's not going to be anywhere near as effective in just pure boxing. So unless he comes out swinging like Mike Tyson, you know what I mean? I don't know, but I genuinely do think Jake Paul is going to win that fight. But look, again, like Logan Paul versus Mayweather, they got paid. They don't give a shit about what anyone else on the planet thinks about them. I think Logan got paid $20 million to fight Mayweather. Do you think he cares about what anyone else thinks of him?
I don't think Tyrone does either. I think he's getting a big payday. Yeah. He's probably the biggest of his career, and Ben Askren was the
biggest payday of his career. Exactly. Yeah. He doesn't give a fuck because the man gets knocked out. His rapping career ain't going to make him that money. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, no, look, fair play to the boys. You know what I mean? They've made themselves a platform, and they're going to run with it and absolutely abuse it as much as you can and get as much money out of it. And fair play to them.
Perfect. Well, thanks for humouring me with them ones, and thanks for taking some time again. Once again, good luck with the rest of camp, weight cut, all the stuff, and good. I'll be watching Fight Night. Can't wait.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for taking the time out of your day.
Make sure to subscribe to the LowKick MMA YouTube channel for all the latest news, event previews, and interviews with some of the biggest stars in MMA.